Record. All right. We are just waiting for our guests to jump on. I am so excited. Let me see if I can span this out and hopefully connects with my Facebook. We shall see. All right. Here
Hello.
she is. Hello. I am really hoping that it streams well with my Facebook. This is my first time connecting it to that. So if not, I've got the recording and we will post it. But thank you. Thanks for being here. For those of you watching this episode of Vibe Right with Kathy B, this is where we strive to help you learn how to overcome challenges, show up fully, and achieve goals despite what society or even life has really handed us. So, this is where we're going to find what it is to light your fire that sets your vibe in a place where others gain permission to vibe with you through trials, growth, and ultimately coming out on top. And I am so excited for our guest today. She is on fire. So, a little backstory, when my niece was born with achondroplasia, if you don't know what that is, it's a form of dwarfism. I went on a search for people I could follow, I could ask questions. Really, I just wanted to learn because that's not something I'd had in my life before. And I wanted to be the best auntie possible. And I came across Angela's page and I was instantly connected because she lived in Mississippi. And I had lived there for 5 impactful years of my life, where my son was born as well. So I followed her page and was in awe with everything she has accomplished. It's amazing to watch her journey and what she's done. I reached out and asked some very personal questions, and she gave me such great answers and advice and love. And she had so much humility as well. And she really gives me hope for my niece and the life she'll get to live. So, standing just under 4 feet tall, Angela has a very commanding and comforting presence. She, being a single mom of 3 kids, she strives to be a present and loving mom while juggling entrepreneurship, personal growth, and social justice work. She really is like a superhero over here, guys. Angela combines her empathetic and positive coaching style with her passion for wellness and her life and wellness coaching business, which is Purpose by Ange. She carries a bachelor's from Tulane University in health and wellness and certifications in life coaching, health coaching, nutrition, and personal training, along with some other fabulous achievements we'll let her talk about. So it's Angela's goal to help her clients find wellness in the mind, body, and the soul. And she feels it's her life destiny to guide and support others as they grow and begin to live their best life. And you see this in so many ways when you follow her. So we'll show you some links to where you can follow her later on. But welcome, Angela. Do you prefer Angela, Angie, or Ange?
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Perfect. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This is awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you. Look at all of that you're doing. This is awesome.
Thank you. I knew that when I finally got to where I wanted to interview, I needed to start with some powerhouse people. So I've just obviously, since I followed you, I've just in admiration. And then you launched and released your book. And I know that was a big thing for you. Have you always been a go-getter?
Yeah, I have. I was married for 10 years and it turned out to be a toxic marriage. So during that time, some of my go-getting was a little bit doused, but no, I have always been a go-getter.
I love that. So obviously you're at a point in your life where you weren't through that 10 years. So how long have you really been working on yourself, focusing on you and what you want to do to get to this point?
Yeah, so I've been divorced almost 4 years now. Well, apart from him, almost 4 years now. And um, I started, not long after I left, really starting to work on myself, stepping away from that caused me to kind of see things that I had not seen before. And that made me like, okay, this isn't going to be how we're going to do things. And, my kids are the reason I do everything. And so I really didn't want to be that person for my kids anymore. I wanted to be a much better example. And so I started really diving into personal development books and self-help books and healing, the things that had broken during that marriage. And so I'm definitely a completely different person today than I was 4 years ago, on the inside, especially.
I love that. It's amazing, well, one, what kids can motivate us to do, right? Especially when we step into our own and we are that sole provider of energy and life and everything. And so I love that you can see that transformation from yourself. I'm sure we look back a lot of times and we look at the old us and we're like, oof, like, how did we get there?
Yeah, yeah.
And I love that you've had that journey and that becomes a part of your story that you use so well. So I diving into trials and things, I feel that we really have to be forged in fire to become our strongest. And I know growing up, being a little person, you face challenges many of us will never understand. And I love learning from people that view and see life in a very different way. I know with your mom and your sister, they were both little people as well, correct?
Hmm.
And so I know that had to help create some normalcy within your home of what life was like. But what were some of the things maybe your mom or some loved ones taught you during those times of being different, so to say, that you can remember that really stuck with you, that helped you rise above the trials that you might have faced?
Yeah, so my mom is a little person. She lives with us, and then my sister was, and she had some pretty severe complications, and she was in a wheelchair. My dad was tall; he was 6'3", and so we in my book I talk a little bit about my childhood, and so there's some not so great parts to my dad, but one of the things, like, he didn't take any excuses, like he didn't
Mhm.
take any BS. I remember specifically wanting to get a job because you want money, and
Right.
so and I was raised with a very strong work ethic, and so I've always had a strong work ethic. And so I was 15, and there was this snowball stand, and they had like a now hiring sign, and it was in the parking lot of this grocery store. So I was like, oh, I wonder if I could work there. And my dad was like, why couldn't you? Why are you questioning that?
Mm.
And then I was like, well, it's really tall. Like, and he was like, but they're stools. And I was, of course, insecure. Like, I didn't want, that's a big
Right.
step. And but he was very no nonsense in that. And I feel like that's always stuck with me, to say, why are you hesitating to do this? Why are you questioning that? There's always a way. Usually, I mean, not always, but 9 times out of 10 there's a way. So he was a big influence on that, and he was the same way even with my sister, who was in a wheelchair. He didn't take any excuses from her either. And so I didn't appreciate it as a kid,
Right.
because it felt like he was being really hard on us. But of course, looking back, I can see how that has helped form who I am today.
I love that. And that is, I think, one of the biggest things we try to instill in our kids, especially my oldest son being special needs as well, is why not? Like I think we just naturally get this weird sense of insecurities. I mean, even people that just function just on a daily basis that normally don't have these challenges that you may face, they naturally think, oh, I don't know if I could do that. And so I love that your dad did not look at you any different, treated you like everybody should. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so you're shorter than the stand. You have a stool.
Hmm.
And I think that can be applied in every aspect is, oh, I don't know how to get there. Then find your stool, right?
Hmm.
Find that that's going to step on there. So I'm curious, did you go for the job?
I did, and another factor of that was not just my hesitation, but knowing that they would likely have a hesitation. And so I went, and it was just a couple of kids at and I asked for an application, and I got one, and I turned it in, but that was kind of the end of it. I didn't really heavily pursue it. But um, a year or so later, he had already passed away, but a year or so later, a job came open. There was an ad on a local radio station for a job, And I pursued that pretty heavily, not even knowing what the job was. And it was because of my persistence that I ended up getting the job. So I got to work at the local radio station through high school. So it's really, the best job you could probably get as a high schooler. So it carried on, even though it didn't necessarily work out in that particular situation.
I love that. And I'm sure you continue to apply that with all these other things you've accomplished. So that's
Absolutely.
amazing. I love that. Everybody go find your stool and say, why not? What was one of the hardest times you would kind of say in your life where things felt too heavy? There's a lot of different phases in my life where I've literally wanted to just tap out of life, where things feel just too heavy to carry and just too much. And you don't have to, if you don't want to go in detail with those, but I know we all have that moment. So what is something that brought you through that lets you basically raise that vibration and get yourself out of this and go on functioning?
Probably one of the hardest times was there was a point in my marriage where I was the breadwinner, but things were really awful. And then I had three kids, and one of them is special needs, which you and I have talked a lot about that. And that comes with its own stresses. And then, really trying to decide if this is going to work, if it's not, if it doesn't, how am I going to um, make it financially, because I was the main breadwinner, but our two incomes, made the family. And
Right.
so it was just it was a really, really heavy, hard time. And then on top of that, the job I was working at was toxic too. And so I actually ended up having to, I took time to go to therapy and get some medicine for a short, amount of time for that. And so that helped tremendously, just kind of pushed me through. But I always try to remind myself of the things that I've been through to know that I can continue to go through things and that it's temporary. It's always temporary. And so that's usually the angle that I take when things are really rough. But that was a point where everything just felt like, how the hell is this going to happen? And seeking a little bit of therapy, and the medicine did help kind of just give me that little bit of push to get through that time period. And I ended up leaving that job for a lesser paying job, but that stress being removed helped me to be able to manage the stress at home a little more.
Okay, gotcha. I think there's such a stigma around reaching out for help, you know,
Mhm.
and we don't like to appear weak or like we can't it's our family. Why can't we keep our family up and float, right? And so I really like that you reach that space where you're like, I need something. I need
Mhm.
help. And you weren't afraid to reach out to that, and that got you through a little bit of that period, and you're able to kind of see on the other side that okay, it does end, it does move, it does shift and change. I love that. Awesome. So becoming a mother is such a blessing. I look at your Prego pictures and I am like, this woman, guys, you need to follow her and watch her journey through this, because if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can go one more day, like just watch her. It's incredible. Um, I know my children have personally taught me a lot. My oldest, with his unique way of seeing the world, has taught me a really new view of things and the importance of keeping my crap together mentally as much as I can. We've been losing it a little too much lately. But what are some of the unique things that your children have taught you?
you know um Communication, I think, is really the biggest, because growing up we didn't really talk about things that much. And um I see that kind of being the root of some of the things that I've carried into adulthood. And so we are very openly communicative. I want my kids to be able to talk to me if they're having problems or struggles. And I am um, I bring it up to them. So the other day we had kids. I have a kids club that does exercise and nutrition, and so they were doing it, and we were running laps, and Malika, my youngest, she's 6, and she's really tiny. She has dwarfism too, but she's very tiny. And so she was falling behind, and I could see in her face that she was getting very discouraged. And so I started cheering her on, and she pushed through, and she didn't cry. And then afterwards we talked about it. Like, I'm always trying to get them to talk it through, so that
Yes.
she can not just pretend that she was fine, because she wasn't, to talk about why you weren't fine, but why you are now. And so that's just an example of, I try to keep those
Yes.
communications open, and they have taught me that is all them, because I want them to grow up to be the best versions of themselves, and I realize through them how important communication is.
That's amazing. I think one of the hardest things is to see our children struggle, but then also they try to put it off because they don't want you to be worried, or they don't want to feel like they were weak or not enough. And so I love that you make that such a key point in the relationship. And I'm sure you treat that with the other people you come into contact with. How you
Mhm.
speak to people and communicate to people, you can tell that's a very important part to you. And so I love that they know, and that's going to be so important as they go through some of the big things, to know that I can talk to mom. I can
Mhm.
go here. I can actually say what I'm really feeling and not have shame behind that.
Mhm.
That is so powerful. What an amazing thing to have with them. Awesome. So, what would you say your top three accomplishments are that, having achieved them, really raised your vibration to another level, that made you think, "Ooh, I can maybe do bigger, or I can make this amazing." What would your top three accomplishments be?
Definitely my kids, not to sound cliche, but being a single mom of 3 is hard. And so when I get to sit and see them do well, or just be great humans, like, I take a lot of pride in that, and I'm really proud of them. So that's definitely number one. I would say, in 2019, I was working at Habitat for Humanity. I'd been there for 7 years, and I loved it there. But I had graduated from Tulane with my degree in health and wellness, and knew that health coaching, life coaching, was going to be my end game, and that's obviously not going to happen at Habitat. And so I made the decision to jump into wellness coaching full time in January of 2020. And so getting through last year as a first year full time entrepreneur and single mom
Oh,
is definitely tops for sure, because it was a lot. It was a lot. And then you know I guess probably writing, being a part of that book has been pretty monumental, bigger than I expected it to be. I've been told often that I should write, and I ended up contributing to the book, and it felt like, no big deal, because I write on my blog, I write on Facebook,
right.
but then the day it came out, I felt like I was gonna puke. And and then it went bestseller in 4 categories, and I really felt like I was gonna puke. But ever since then, it's really opened my mind to other opportunities, especially in the LP world. I have some ideas where I can help advocate in that world. LP is little people, for people who don't know. I'm sorry. And so that has really helped me kind of see some different avenues that I can use to advocate and to help bring knowledge and information to the general public about LPs. So that has really been something that I did not expect. I thought, oh, I would just write it, and it'll
Right.
go out and it'll be great. But the opportunities that I now see because of it have been pretty amazing.
I love that. I know in your biography it talks about, you face this fear every day of speaking in public or doing these things, that I've seen you like doing these runway shows and talking to people and writing your stuff. So I love that you made it through 2020. I mean, what a year to come out and go, I'm going to do this new thing, and then have a freaking virus slap you in the face. So I love that you can sense that mentality of, hey, there's always another side. Let's just keep going. Let's just move. And I love your Purpose by Ange. And I love that you created a kid version for it as well with your wellness. Like the things that you'll be able to teach people is extraordinary. And your book, I always find it interesting how people on the outside can see things that we don't about ourselves, right? People are pushing, you're like, I just don't think that I've got something worth putting out there, right? Read my blog. And then you do, and it blows up. It's just a testament of what you have to share can be stifled a little bit by our own thinking, oh, it's not that big. It's not anybody else. But now it's led you to being able to advocate for LPs all over. And I think your voice and your determination and your strength and your diligence and the things that you've accomplished can give so many of them hope with this world. And like you said, bring awareness, because there's so much in the world that people are like, I don't know how to, and you're like, I'm just a person, people. I love so much that you're willing to share a part of that of your life with us, because that's how we grow, is by learning from amazing people like you that aren't afraid to say, yeah, hello, I'm a human. I have a heart. I have a brain that's a really freaking amazing brain, and all these things. So I love that. Hold on. Under the couch? Well, they didn't make it where they're supposed to go. Okay, thanks. I'm on a meeting. Okay. Kid life, right?
Right, absolutely.
What are some of your daily routines? I've seen like in your newspaper stuff, and when you were covered by the news, and you post a lot of like the meditation. I love seeing it with your kiddos. But what are some of your daily routines to ensure that you keep your energy and your vibes in the right place?
I love starting my day with journaling. I'm a huge proponent of journaling. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be, poetic. It's just simply writing out your thoughts, because that helps you process them. So I always start my day with journaling. 5-10 minutes. That's really all it takes. I meditate a couple times a day. And again, it doesn't have to be some sort of formal thing where, you're feeling like your mind is completely blank. It's just, for me, it's just simply taking 5-10 minutes to just sit and try to clear your mind, try to focus on, something positive, whether it be an affirmation or something like that. I find that those two things, last year, because of the pandemic and being an entrepreneur and being a single mom and having all 3 kids at home 24/7, it was stressful, and my anxiety like shot through the roof. And so I found that those two things really helped me just power through. And then also listening to my body. So I will rest if I need to rest, but just trying to make sure that I find that fine line between resting when I need to rest and just resting because that's more fun than doing it sometimes. So those are probably the top things that got me through last year, though.
Okay, no, I love that. I love that you made the clarification that journaling doesn't have to be this 12-page thing, or meditation doesn't have to be this 20-minute long drawn out with bells and drums and, essence all around, because sometimes as a busy mom, you're like, I don't have 10 minutes uninterrupted to just, but you find that time to just allow your body to stop and check in with itself and kind of clear your space a little bit. So I love that you have those tools. And then resting. Yes, I think some of us, especially last year, tried to rest when it wasn't necessary. I'm out. Just peace out. White flag. I'm gonna just go lay back in my bed. So I love that. I love that you listen to your body, because I think we try so hard to just push and push. And as a single mom, I'm sure at times you feel that intense pressure of just go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure you've experienced burnout when you didn't listen to your body.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll get sick. Like your body will make you rest. So, and then you won't get anything done. So
There's no happy medium. There's no rest and then continue. It's just you're done and out until
Mhm.
you recover. I love that. So just curious, what to you does your future look like? What is your dream? Say in the next 5 years, when you see yourself, your family, your business, what does it look like for you?
I'm not sure. I've always been a person to have pretty specific short term, long term, and then like long term goals. But everything is kind of a whirlwind right now. So I definitely see myself doing, the projects specifically to LPs, hopefully this year. Um, that's kind of as far as I've got specifically. I have a couple more books in me for sure.
Ooh,
I've started dictating notes just to kind of get that process going, but that I don't see that happening right away.
okay.
Um, and then my coaching business, that's my heart. So I have one-on-one coaching, and then I have group coaching, and so I envision that growing over the next few years for sure. And then motivational speaking. So you mentioned that I talk about being like I'm sweating right now. I am sweating, and so it's not my favorite
Uh-huh.
thing, but
Right.
I understand the value of it. And if my mission on this planet is to help others, then that's part of it. And it does get easier. The more you do it, the easier it gets. I used to have to do it for Habitat, which it's
Okay.
funny how that works out, how you kind of, the universe puts you in places that you don't know are going to benefit you in the future. And my mentor loves to tell the story of how one of my first meetings, I was red and stumbling and just a nervous wreck. And now I don't consider myself an amazing speaker, but I've definitely grown a
Right,
lot
right.
from there. So I would love to do some larger scale speaking, and just to be more impactful. So that's really kind of the big picture of the next few years. Yeah, it's,
Awesome.
I mean, there's just been the book and everything, the magazine, and um last year was so rough, and then this year it's like, oh, okay, we're
Yeah.
we're actually doing it this time. It feels like a false start last year now, so it's like I got to regroup and get my thoughts back together.
Absolutely. I know it kind of like trailed in, then it was almost like the world was seeing who could hang in there through last year, right? And you were still showing up, you were still swimming, you were still trying to dig through it, and then everybody's like, "Yeah, I see you. Okay, now you're in the spotlight." Right? So now you're like, "Oh, okay." But I think you are handling it very gracefully.
Thank you.
You're doing amazing. So I'm excited. I know books take time, especially from writers that I know that start out their first one, you kind of get these glitches and things and stuff figured out, and then once you get to it. So I'm excited that you feel that there's a few more in you. So that'll be fun to see unravel over the years. And public speaking, I I think you will do amazing. And I love so much that you're willing, knowing that if there's something I can help somebody, I'm willing to look past the fact that I'm going to sweat like crazy. Right? Because there, strap some like tissues under there and just get to it. So I really love that you have that in you, that I'm willing to give what I have, even though it scares the bejeebus out of me. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a powerful thing that a lot of people can learn from. So, if you could tell, we're going to kind of wrap this up a little bit. If you could tell anyone, I always love to ask this question because everybody's brain thinks and feels, and to me, these are such golden nuggets. But if you could tell anyone who's trying to find the way to their dreams or to a better day, what is one ish thing that you would share with them to keep them going?
I think the key to self-love or success or whatever is really rewiring the thoughts that are holding you back in your brain. And it can take time, but it's simple. It may not be easy and it's not quick, but it's honestly pretty simple. But you just have to be very intentional about how you're talking to yourself and what you're listening to. So if someone finds themselves struggling, or if someone is looking to grow, then I would strongly recommend pinpointing those thoughts that are kind of holding you back and what your blocks are, and then creating affirmations to counter that. So if you are if you think that you're going to fail, then create an affirmation that tells you to tell yourself how you're going to succeed. If you think that you're not worthy of love, then find ways that you love yourself and repeat those. If you are kind-hearted, then remind yourself that you're kind-hearted. If you feel like you have beautiful eyes, then remind yourself that you have beautiful eyes. Our brain is wired to keep us safe, but often it pushes us down into a hole, and we have the power to overcome it. It's just a matter of consistency and intentional work.
I love that. I think it's so important because we do. I think society gives us a lot of crap, and social media, there's so much perfectness on social
Mhm.
media. And so we sabotage ourselves before we even give ourselves a chance. So I
Mhm.
love all the different ways, even down to if you think you have pretty eyes, remind yourself that you have pretty eyes. Because if you wake up every morning and go, man, you have some pretty eyes, I bet you're going to stand a little straighter and you're going to be willing to look at people. And so
Mhm.
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Guys, make some affirmations, put them up somewhere. Remind yourself of how amazing you are and stop believing all the nonsense. Okay, I want you to share with us a little bit about the book that became top of the charts without you even planning it. And so I'm going to pull up an image that has where people can follow you. So go ahead and share with us about your book while I pull that up.
Sure. So, Finally Free is a collaborative book of authors who share stories of how they overcame struggles or challenges and became finally free. My chapter is Just Keep Going. And in it, I talk about how using your past, reflecting on your past to see the things that you have overcome, can help you when you are in the middle of a struggle. You've been through things before, all of us have, and you've all made it through, and often for the better. Often struggles and strifes and storms, when you come out the other side, you're better off because of it. And so when you're able to remind yourself of that when you're in the middle of a storm, then you can power through a little bit easier, a little bit better, and just keep going. So that's the book. It is the Kindle version is available on Amazon. But you can also purchase paperback from me, and a portion of those proceeds are going to my LPA chapter. So, pardon me. So LPA is Little People of America, and we started a Mississippi chapter last year, the end of last year, and I'm the president. And so a portion of those proceeds from the book are going to go to our chapter. So I'll share the link in the comments below in case anyone is interested.
Awesome. I love that. So one more time, what was the title?
Finally Free.
Finally Free. I love that proceeds get to go and that you're the president of this. You are going to make such massive movement in these upcoming years. That's so exciting. So follow Angela on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse, and LinkedIn as Purpose by Ange. And you can also sign up for her newsletter at www.purposebyange.com. So screenshot this, write it down, look her up, follow her, and start changing your life and being inspired and in awe and everything that I am every time I watch her. So thank you so much, Angie, for jumping on here, for giving us a little bit of, well, a lot of your time and just so much knowledge and motivation and inspiration to just step into and say why not and find your stool and do things that scare you because she's incredible even though she's a little bit nervous. So thank you for being here and for doing this with me.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. I appreciate it, Kathy.
Yes, and we will talk to you soon. And guys, tune in and follow her. Like I mentioned, like her, subscribe to her YouTube channel. She really wants to grow that and be able to edit that and make that more unique and for her. So make sure you like and subscribe her YouTube channel. Follow us and stay tuned for the next episode on Vibe Right with Kathy B. Have a great day.